Hello, everyone. I'm your host Wei Fang of this is Sound of Hope News. Along with me is the Kathy Zhang, our investigative reporter, and my co-host.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you again.
All right, you Chinese American journalist from San Francisco, California. So before we start, I have two things to share with you. One is good news, not good news. One is good, really good and encouraging piece. One is kind of depressing one. We want you to know the facts, so I'll let you know both. All right, first, thank you very much for all the comments. I just want to read a couple of them, and as our DJ sent that to me. So this is okay. Next time, making sure that attach the name because I want to know that who did that comment. Please let us know. One comment says this: we watch you every day. Now, also all of my family watch you too. I actually don't like to go to YouTube, but I go on there for you and Steve Turley only. Oh, Steve Turley, thank you. I will check him out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, another piece of comment says this. I sent the president a message from the White House. Contact the president. I learned this from finding out about your broadcast about General McNally. And I remind him to watch Sound of Hope News. Oh, thank you for important intel. I think he does. I imagine long ago when our country fought a civil war, the people back then also had similar hardships. But the defining factor of their success were strong patriots like you and others who held on to core value and the idea of freedom even when things get really tough.
Yeah, and that's from our audience in Connecticut, Mary.
Mary. Yeah, thank you very much. And another piece of news is you may have noticed that we modified, we deleted the Di Dongsheng, the Chinese CCP scholar.
Yesterday's video.
Right. The reason is this. The reason another investigative reporter with our network, Jennifer Zheng, and her video got deleted last night after she posted the similar content. And the YouTube
was deleted by YouTube.
The reason they gave is copyright infringement. Normally, with you guys who do YouTube, you would know that copyright infringement is you use something unauthorized, and then normally they mark you with the yellow color, and basically they give you a yellow mark.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you lost the monetization capability with that particular video. It is very harsh and very rare to have your video deleted. So that's one thing. That's only the light side of it. The other side is this. Okay, Mr. D, this scholar, actually we played two pieces of his speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one really revealed what CCP is thinking about our country, thinking about Biden, and mentioned about Hunter Biden.
And they revealed how Wall Street controls.
So
they control Wall Street in turn. Wall Street impact have an influence.
Exactly. So actually, in the world of the copyright law, it's called the fair use. Fair use. If you use a piece of unauthorized content, but you use it for like a sarcasm, did I say the right word? Sarcastic purpose, and if for fun, create another program, and for news reporting, and for research and research purpose and education, you can use it without getting the copyright authorized. And especially with this piece of things, it's very revealing. It's a revealing news, and you cannot be possibly get it from Mr. D himself, mm-hmm. or from the Chinese government, right? They would hide it. They already offline.
They actually
they offline everything, and then they hide it. You cannot say, "Sir, I want to go by copyright law. Can you give me your video?" It's impossible, right? So at this time, it's a typical use of fair use. Okay. However, they still offline her video and delete it. For the same reason, we'll have to offline it and
actually we posted on the Rumble.
Yeah.
So for those, actually we got overwhelming feedbacks from our audience, especially yesterday about urging us to find another platform, including like suggesting Rumble and Parler. So we actually already registered on there. So some of our videos are posted on there. So yeah, if you're wondering, you could check it out. Just search for Sound of Hope News. So for alternative platform, we are still like a kind of a working progress. Working on it. Working progress. So just keep in contact with us, and we'll let you know. Because Rumble, I don't think they support streaming. And
live streaming,
and they don't support Chinese language yet.
Anyway, working on the backup. That's the first thing. Just so you know that we will be here, and we'll be here for long. And the second thing, what YouTube did to Jennifer, it's not right. It's not right. So we're also thinking about how to deal with that. Anyway, but those are the two, development with the channel itself. All right, let's move into our news today. So it's still 3 sections. The first one is about the election news updates. The second, Kathy, actually, who did you interview?
Oh, yeah, I interviewed a Hoover scholar, Professor Victor Hassen. For those who are familiar with Professor Hassen, would be, I think he's really,
very famous,
sought after.
Very thoughtful professor scholar. And back in 2016, he's the only scholar in the Federalist Society who was able to predict that Trump would win. So yeah, Kathy interviewed him, and we have that piece for you. So even though it's not related to China, it's something very, very worthy. So stay tuned. And the third one will be our perspective. Okay, let's go to the first part. Well, needless to say, the first major news is the development of the Texas lawsuit against the 4 battlefield states. As of now, 17 other states, pretty much they are red states, the attorney generals, and joined the lawsuit. Precisely about 11 of them filed the amicus brief, which is like a friend of the court type of a briefing with the court. And 6 states actually, along with the President Trump, now they ask to intervene the lawsuit, become part of it. Okay, and in the meantime, the District of Columbia filed a legal briefing too, their own version of amicus brief, and they also 22 blue states joined them, and then 22 states and the territories, and oppose this Texas lawsuit. So you see, things are really just
ramping up.
Yeah, ramping up or escalating. So in certain sense, I don't know how you see it. This is a new form. This is the Civil War, without without any shot. We hope there would never be any shot that has to be fired, right? But it's a war. It's a civil war of ideology. It's a civil war of values. In a civil war of ideas. And it has involved elected officials at virtually every level, involve our court, and involve the media people, involve the tech people, and so on and so on. And I think eventually it's going to involve most of the people in this country, and will be fewer and fewer people who would be able to sit on the fence and just wait this to pass. It will get them involved. Because the stake is so high. And consequences is so big. So in certain sense, if I just put forth my own comment here, if it is indeed a civil war, right? Then people, every person involved, they are a soldier. And what's the soldier's job? The soldier's job, in my belief, is to spreading the truth. So being it right to your congressman, congresswoman, right to your senator, writing to state senator or state assemblyman, and or writing to Google, writing to White House. I think that's what we can do, and that's what each of us should do, right? This is still a democracy, and the sovereignty is with the people. So every piece of voice from each of us make a difference, just like a little soldier on the battlefield.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah. So after today's show, I think after you hear what Professor Hanson said, you probably will feel even stronger about that. All right, that's one thing. And another thing is just what happened is today is the World Human Rights Day, right?
Yep, International Human Rights Day. Today is the December 10th.
Right. So what happened is the State Department and issued a sanction against 17 officials, foreign officials who persecuted human rights in their own country. And in China, there's this one particular person. His name is called Huang Yuanxiong. Okay, Huang Yuanxiong. He's the the chief of a police branch of a police bureau, of a sub bureau of a Xiamen city, a city's public security bureau.
Yeah, Xiamen is located in the southern part of
right.
China.
And why Secretary of State Pompeo sanctioned this person? His name is called Huang Yuanxiong. Why did he do that?
So what in the State Department's announcement, it says this Huang Yuanxiong is associated with a particular severe violation of religious freedom of Falun Gong practitioners. Falun Gong is a mind-body spiritual practice or belief. So what he engaged directly into the detention and the interrogation of Falun Gong practitioners for practicing their belief. And also, this sanction also applies to his spouse. So the State Department said the world cannot stand idly as the PRC government perpetrate horrific and systematic abuses against people in China, including violating the internationally recognized rights of freedom of thoughts, conscience, and religious or belief.
Okay, I want to take this opportunity to just give you a little background about what is the Falun Gong. Most of you may just hear about that the first time. Falun Gong is a meditation exercise based upon the principles of 3 words: truth, compassion, and tolerance. It's a mind and body practice and a sitting meditation, and it was very, very popular in the 1990s in China. Over 100 million people pick up this practice, and just the size of which of the practitioner body unnerved the Chinese government. They just defined us as a threat. And so since 1999, they carried out a very brutal persecution against this meditation exercise. And while they do that, how do they make sure it can continue? Is because they used all kinds of propaganda, defamation against this group. And of course, United States is beginning with President Bush, and then Obama. Actually, the general policy, right? The human rights policy is the fundamental value that America advocate. However, on the issue of Falun Gong, whenever the U.S. officials raise this with the Chinese, their counterpart, their officials, they would virtually pound the table and walk away. Basically, the message is this: this is a taboo. You never touch this. This is a red line. This is our thing. You would never touch it, or you would suffer, serious consequence. So, American officials, they were just startled. They were shocked. And they were trained to learn that, this is a taboo area. We should never touch it. So they just stay away from the field. And it's so many years, Falun Gong practitioners was, persecuted very, very brutally without much voice from our administration. Over the last 20 years, Congress passed, I think, 5 resolutions, maybe 6, on the issue of Falun Gong. But the Bush administration and Obama administration never spoke out on that.
Including Clinton administration.
Yeah, Clinton is 1999.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, yes, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, actually, I didn't prepare it, but actually I found a video of video speech of Clinton. Actually, he deliberately mentioned why we should not really give much voice to support Falun Gong.
Yeah. So actually, compared to other persecuted group like a Muslim in Xinjiang and the Tibetan monks and underground church, and those they receive the voice of support from international society. But you have heard about support of Falun Gong's human rights is very, very rarely in the last 20 years. That's the reason. Okay. And I want to point out one particular issue, okay? And this Huang Yuanxiong, he's really just, he's just a little guy. Okay, at the
the person who is sanctioned.
It's like a police station. Okay, they call it Public Security Bureau. Okay, it's a police stations, sub police stations, sub police stations. A little chief there, and the reason why the Secretary of State pick him and sanction him, and Pompeo also said our sanction also applied to his spouse. All right, as a Chinese Communist government, and inflict systematic and and appalling mistreatment, abuse of Chinese people, and the world cannot stand by. All right, the reason why he picked just our Secretary of State picked this little guy is because they are sending a message. There's a lot of such first line police who disregard the human value and just against humanity, and arrest people arbitrarily, innocent people, and torture them. So in the last 20 years, many tens of thousands of Falun Gong practitioners were tortured to death for not giving up, what they believe, their belief. So basically, my observation and my comment is the State Department is first time send a clear message to those first line human rights abusers. Watch out. We can get to Mr. Huang. We can get to you, and don't follow the order of the CCP.
Yeah, and also there's a observation. This person who was sanctioned, Mr. Huang, actually. Some observers would notice that actually he is indirectly related to Xi Jinping. Yeah, because right now there's a higher official in the central government who's responsible for their so-called law enforcement. His name is Wang Xiaohong, and this person right now is very much get the focus, that get the attention from Xi Jinping.
Yeah, he's the so-called executive vice secretary of the the public security ministry. Okay.
Yeah.
The head of public security ministry of the nation, and this Wang Xiaohong, he was the boss of this Mr. Huang, who was sanctioned.
Yeah, and then this his boss Wang Xiaohong used to be working under Xi Jinping when Xi Jinping was in that province, working in that province.
Yeah, we cannot help commenting that Secretary Pompeo really thought it over and picked this particular person.
I think he got some good advice.
Yeah, sending a message to Xi Jinping. Okay, the current leader of the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, also sent a message to all the common people, the first line police, who are the human rights abusers across the country. Yeah, I would say applaud our Secretary of State and State Department and and our administration.
Yeah, actually, Professor Hanson, when I interviewed him today, he made a comment that Pompeo is the best Secretary of State.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another piece of quick news, just for it may impact your investment. This has to do with the Standard & Poor's and the Dow Jones index today announced that they, according to the order or the executive order of the Trump administration, they will remove 21 Chinese companies from their global stock index and the bond index, and so that American investors won't be just buying those companies' stock, just unintentionally, right? Because when your mutual fund got invested, it by index, and then those 21 Chinese companies were in the index, and they all have a military background. Okay, they were designated by the defense of the state that they have a military background, and they are not good to our national security, and our American investors should not put our money into it and supporting them to come back to us, come back against us. That's and in the meantime, the UK, the Russell, the FTSE, the Russell index also removed 8 companies from their index. That's another, I would say that's another positive development. And Okay, so now let's talk about the interview. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. So actually, Professor Victor Hassen, I've been interviewing him for the past 3 some years, and so for those, I'm sure I already saw some comments, saying Professor Hassen is amazing. So I'm think some of our audience are very familiar with him. But in case for those who are not, I just give a brief introduction. Professor Victor Davis Hanson is a senior fellow at Hoover University at Stanford.
Hoover
Institute of Stanford University. He's a classicist, military historian, and and he's a professor emeritus of classics at California State University, Fresno. He also is a visiting professor at Hillsdale College. So today I asked him a lot of questions. We don't have time, and some of the contents may not be able to show on this YouTube channel. So I'll share with you some of the contents. So first of all, I actually asked him about what about Trump's legal battle? How does he view it? Oh, by the way, Professor Victor Hassen wrote a book in 2017. It's called The Case for Trump. He analyzed how and why Trump won last election. So regarding this time, at this point, Professor Hanson actually thought it's pretty difficult for President Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see why.
It's a political matter now. It's not a legal or jurisprudence matter. By that I mean a legislator or a senator or a congressman or a judge is going to have to say, if I make this decision, what's the fallout? Am I going to lose my election? Am I going to be attacked? Am I going to be removed?
Yeah, so that's his point of view, why we saw so many cases being thrown out, be rejected. And, even though some are Republican legislators or, congressmen, they are not really standing strong. So that's his point of view. So I also asked him, how do you see the Texas case in the Supreme Court? He said that's a brilliant idea, but still pretty difficult.
The public is what will determine, and as I look at the polls, about 60% think something went wrong, but it's not quite 70 or 80 that would galvanize a judge to change it yet. It could, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I wish it would.
Okay, yeah, he just, he mentioned how the judge is gonna be called a racist, all kind of names, and so they are under pretty much pressure, and he emphasized how the public opinion matters. And he actually, we also talked about the recent news about the CCP spies. It's kind of shocking to me to hear that Professor Hanson actually had a personal interaction with this female CCP spy back in 2015. He mentioned to me this case a couple of times before, but he never mentioned the name, and but let's hear what he says.
Yeah, I got a call, just to give you one example, in 2015 from the Chinese consulate, and I was told that my columns were inappropriate, they were unfair, they were prejudicial to the Chinese Communist government, and could they come and talk to me? And I thought it was very strange, so I said, okay. But as I thought about it, I said to my assistants, I don't want to be in the same room with these people because they're capable of anything. So when this woman came up, I'm pretty sure it was her. She's very attractive. She had gifts for me. She came into my office. She wanted to talk politics, very young. She had an American accent. And I said, are you really from the Chinese consulate? Were you the people who called? And she said, yeah. She had kind of American slang. And she said, you want to go to dinner? And I said, no. And we talked, and I tried to defend Japan and Taiwan. And then but I had two people in the room. And so it was very strange. So when I looked at that picture, she seems very similar to the person who came. And I was just wondering whether she was working out of the Chinese consulate to talk to people who were in media or government or whatever they were. But this person who came was very heated and suggesting that I was prejudiced against the Chinese government, which I was, because I don't trust it. But she was very critical of Taiwan and Japan, and I thought really so outspoken to the point of being rude, you know. And then finally I said, you know, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. And then she almost became like an American teenager. Her accent, it was much more familiar, and she said, okay. And then she just said, so you're not going to go to dinner? I said, no. And then she kind of got friendly and said, okay, no problem. You can see, and when you think of what they're doing, and Dianne Feinstein's chauffeur for 20 years, or this Swalwell fellow's congressman, it's very scary. And then on my own campus, as you probably remember, there was a neuroscientist that was just fired, a visiting scholar from China that was employed apparently by the Chinese military. And we had the Department of Education disclosing all of these gifts, multi-million-dollar gifts to universities that were never reported. And then facial recognition systems that were developed by American universities that were employed by the Chinese government to spy on its own citizens. So it's very scary.
Yeah. And, you know, he mentioned Eric Swalwell, right? Yesterday we reported news about the House Intelligence Committee actually removed him. So I also asked him, you know, the FBI noticed Congressman Eric Swalwell back in 2015 about this female spy, but why the story only came out right now?
Well, I think it was going to get out in that case. Everybody was talking about it. I had heard rumors about it, and just from media people. So I think the attitude was, let's keep this closed and out of the press before the election, because it'll only prove Trump's point that one of his fiercest critics, Swalwell, was on the House Intelligence Committee, and yet he probably had a relationship with a Chinese spy. So after Trump was done for, then it was going to come out anyway, so it didn't hurt Biden. And the same thing with Hunter Biden. They kept all of that information about him being, that again, getting back to that Chinese scholar, he mentioned Hunter Biden, you know. So they know what was going on, but we didn't know what was going on until after the election. And I would go one final step further, and it is, I wouldn't be surprised that because the Department of Justice is below this, the Attorney General is mostly liberal. It always is. Lawyers are liberal. They go into the the Justice Department. They're very liberal. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the leaks that came from the Department of Justice or even the FBI came in an effort to help Kamala Harris, because she's the beneficiary. Joe Biden gets her elected as vice president, and all of a sudden we hear, wow, he's not feeling very well. The media's starting to cover for the first time. They say, wow, I was turning on CNN and they had him on there, and somebody said, well, he wasn't very sharp today, or I've never heard that before. And then all of a sudden there's covering Hunter Biden's story. I've never heard that. So why, I say to myself, well, maybe Trump's not an issue now, but more likely, who benefits from that? Biden doesn't benefit. It's Kamala Harris. So I think you're going to see, for the first time, you're going to hear that Biden is not very well. We're not sure he can do the job. His son's going to be arrested. He may have profited from China. It might be just good. He's 78 if he just went away and we can get a real young person who's much more left-wing. And so I think that's something we should watch. From now on, most of the stories that embarrass Joe Biden are not going to come from the conservative. They're going to come from the hard left, because they have their person as vice president.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how you think.
What do you think? That was Yeah, quite. That's a quite bold statement, right?
Yeah, I was also kind of. I think I asked this question right yesterday. It was like Eric Swalwell, why the story only came out 5 years later, and why I was also wondering like why Hunter Biden was reported that he's being investigated now. So that's Professor Hanson's viewpoint. So, and I remember he, in the last question, the question before, he mentioned Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, for those who are not familiar, actually, Senator Dianne Feinstein in San Francisco, he's also she's the chairman, I think. She's chairwoman on the Senator Intelligence Committee. But it was revealed 2 years ago that her personal driver, worked for her for 20 years, was a Chinese spy. And he also went to the Chinese consulate's party on behalf of the senator. So FBI found that out, and then they said, she didn't really release anything to him, but there's a former FBI agent was commenting on CBS saying, as a driver for 20 years, that's very hard to believe that he didn't get anything, right?
Just 1.5 feet, just by her, and hearing everything.
Yeah. So anyhow, then I asked Professor Hanson that about General Mike Flynn's case. General Mike Flynn was pardoned by President Trump, and then finally his case got dismissed. So. And there's one piece of information is that former President Obama, when he was handing over to President Trump in the Oval Office, he actually two people's name mentioned. He mentioned to President Trump. One is Kim Jong-un, that's the leader of North Korea. Another name he mentioned to President Trump was General Mike Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how he just really, really disliked General Flynn. So I asked Professor Hanson why and how does he view that. He said, because General Flynn is very much opposed to a lot of Obama's policies, including like Iran deal, ISIS, China, and he said that they just destroyed him. That's here.
If you get on the wrong side of the progressive left-wing elite, they have a way of silencing you or making your life miserable, whether it's from liberal press or liberal universities or liberal bureaucrats, liberal deep state, liberal entertainment. I've run into them before, and they're relentless. And so that means a lot of people are afraid to speak out. And when you do speak out, a lot of people will write you, thank you, thank you, thank you, but they won't speak out. And that's scary. It's like 1984, that the left is not the old Democratic Party that believes in free speech and civil liberties. This is a new movement. This is a hard left, progressive, neo-socialist of the kind that took power in France in the 18th century, or Cuba in the 19th century, or Venezuela, or China. And they always start out the same. You know that from the Chinese Revolution. You know that, well, we're just Sun Yat-sen. We're not hardcore communists. We just want to have land redistribution. Same thing with the Bolsheviks. We're just socialists. Or same thing in Cuba. Castro ran as a moderate. And then once they seize power, it's too late. And that's what's scary about this left. This left that is going to take power as a revolutionary left. And I never thought they would get even close to where they are now. Kamala Harris, just to finish, remember, didn't win one delegate, not one in the primary. Nobody wanted to vote for her. And yet she is vice president in about a month, 6 weeks. And then she has a good chance of being president.
So yeah, then finally, I asked Professor Hanson, what's your suggestion to our audience?
I think they have to be informed. They got to talk to people. They have to speak out. They have to promote conservative or at least traditional media. They have to be much more vocal. They have to, when the next election comes around, they have to volunteer to be poll workers. They have to make sure that people are not voting. There's nobody else but the people, and they're going to have to be much more engaged. I know I am. I mean, I write 3 columns a week. I go on TV, but I'm going to be even more because this election in Georgia is going to be a travesty. They're going to have everything going on. So I would say to your audience, if you're in the shadows, you have to come out of the shadows. If you're active, you have to be even more active. If you have access to media, speak out and don't worry about the consequences because.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, actually, Professor Hanson, he mentioned about the Georgia runoff. So he said actually it's very very important election. His suggestion to President Trump is for him to go there 3 or 4 more times to rally people because he said Georgia, the demographic is really changing. 12 million, like 6 million are in Atlanta. So they are really trying to, turn this red state to blue, at least to purple. So he said also that the other side is spending $1 billion there and sending a lot of their legions people there. So that's Professor Hanson's suggestion. So yeah, I don't know how you think of Professor Hanson's interview. He expressed quite a few things that I think is very thought-provoking.
Okay, so our perspective, if I may, I think a few points to share with you guys. And the first, I know it. Professor Hanson talk about something really, I think really serious, right?
Yeah.
And he in the part of the interview that Kathy hasn't shown. Kathy asked him about, what would the Supreme Court be ruling, right?
Well, yeah, he said, it's
what is
difficult.
His answer? Yeah,
he said it's very difficult.
Because?
Because the public, he said, right now, because his view on those judges, he said that many of them are still kind of, very much being swayed by the public opinion. But right now, the public opinion from, his point of view, from what he sees, is still not high enough. He said if that's like a 70 to 80% of people, supporting, then the judges may have the courage under such a pressure because a lot of pressure are on them right now.
What is the level of support at this time?
He said from the polls, he said it's about 60%.
60%.
He said it should be like 70 to 80%. Yeah. Of course, I think it's one difficult thing is the posters, right? We know how the posters are, but unfortunately, that's what's out there. That's what's on the media.
Yeah. Actually, on this particular matter, I differ from Mr. Hanson, Professor Hanson. The reason is this. Okay, essentially, I agree with him that the public opinion is very, very important because what the Texas lawsuit essentially they just went through, skip all the state court and go to Supreme Court, and then they took the case. And the lawsuit is not about particular machine, voting machine, and right or wrong, and what's the particular issues in that machine. That's too complicated. Okay, and Trump's legal team is fighting that battle. However, the Texas lawsuit is about we are going by the Constitution and our state constitution. Okay, we are doing the voting the strict way. But those 4 states, they just loosen up in the name of the pandemic. So, but the very very assumption is this: there is irregularity in those swing states. There are problems there. So that's the basis, right? So without going through all the details, the justice have to believe in that and vote for Texas. So that's a big issue, okay? So essentially it's about the general recognition of the reality of those 4 swing states. And the public opinion at this time, as Kathy relayed, Professor Hanson said, is 60%. So it needs to go to 70 or 80, so that the justices would vote in the, how to say, along with the public.
Yeah,
so
it could galvanize them, to make the right decision.
Right. So now to fall back to each of us, I think, as I said earlier, okay. But for us, for me, okay, we came from China. We came from communist China, okay. For us, there's no other place to run to. Okay, this is our nation. This is our final nation. This is our stronghold. This is our fortress. All right. So definitely, we will not say wait for 4 years. We find now. This is the first thing, and the second thing, and this is I do have faith in our Constitution. Okay, its mechanism, and its process. It's a well-designed, the best designed Constitution in the world. This is the first thing. The second thing is, President Trump is our elected president. Okay, he have all the power. Even if we exhaust the option of the court and he did not win that, when there is such a large level, wide, fraud involved, mind you, this word is what YouTube is warning yesterday, and okay, and there's still the resort, because the president bear the duty of defending our Constitution. Okay, he has tool in his hand. The third is indeed the public opinion. Okay, as each of us does our effort, each of us spreading the news. Okay, writing to your Congress people, writing to your Assembly people, writing to your senator, and writing to YouTube, and writing to the White House, and spreading program like this. People will get to know the truth more and more. Just think about it. 20 days ago, there's far few people who know the truth. Than today.
Yeah,
right?
And just like Professor Hanson finally said, he suggests people really need to speak out and to spread around, to promote the traditional and the conservative media, because everybody knows how medias are right now. So, and he said, if usually a lot of people would say something privately, but now needs to really come out.
Speak out and speak up, right?
And tomorrow there will be, a chance for people.
You mean the day after?
Oh, the day after, the 12th. I saw
December 12th.
Yeah.
In the Washington D.C. And so basically, I think there's high and there's a low at times. When there's a difficult time, that's the time to see one's true nature. And so I would say patriots don't definitely don't give up. Don't even feel disappointed. No, just stay firm and stay strong and do our best, and we will win the country. We'll win the country back. Okay, so especially from your Chinese American, from our heart, we are more than determined. We are more than determined to protect and win back our freedom and keep the country the way it is. All right.
Yeah. Well, finally, wanted to say thanks to Steve McNeil, Amoy Young. Thank you for your donation support, and also Monster Superstar James Lukman. So really appreciate you guys.
Okay. And also, I see Kevin Dadder. Yeah, you left a message. I have to read this here. Way reminds me of Bruce Lee when I met him in Los Angeles.
Oh.
Ha! Okay, I'll show my martial arts next week. How about that? Just stay with us.
All right, so we also have an announcement to make, right?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Kathy is going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. She's flying in. She will be reporting live from Washington, D.C. I will be in studio. I will connect with her. This will all happen on Saturday. But tomorrow, we have to skip tomorrow's program. The only day that we skip it, okay?
Right.
Because of the travel
because,
and everything.
I'll be on the plane, and so everything. And also here we want to shout out to our supporting team, the production team. They really, really, did a good work.
Yeah.
about Tony, Lisa, Xu, and Eva, Dan. So we got a good team. So tomorrow they got a chance to just have a little rest to prepare for Saturday's live broadcasting.
In 35 days, okay, they work 35 days out of 35 days, so they just deserve just one night rest. Just so you know, okay, Professor Hanson said he's writing 3 columns a week,
and it will be more.
Yeah, it will be more, and getting interviews. We are doing 3 or 4 shows a day. How much work do we put in? Yeah, because indeed, this is our battle. This is a battle for freedom.
Yeah, and just give all our best. Yeah, and we will win.
Okay, all right. So until Saturday, we'll see you in the morning. During the daytime, we'll do live cast, and then at night we possibly will do that again. Well, okay. I see you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
So basically what happened was a trailer left here, went to Pennsylvania with ballots for Biden, and they won't show us any video from here or in Pennsylvania where that trailer went, but it was all for Biden votes. So you're dealing with the Postal Service that makes sure that they know where everything's going. So if they didn't steal the votes, why won't they show the camera? I'm here to stop the steal. I've been doing this since it started. I'm with the Long Island Loud majority. We're just done with the left stealing everything. That's why we're in front of this building right now, because a truck disappeared in Pennsylvania with ballots for Biden. But why were they in New York? So this isn't about anything, but we want the right votes counted, not the ones that were stolen. So we feel comfortable if you counted the right votes, the ones that weren't dead or anything else, Trump's our president again. The interrogation of New York, I honestly think it's corrupt and we need to fix it. Because if you saw everything that's going on right now, it's not just in one state or anything else. It's multiple states. And it's not like they don't have proof, like the main media is saying they don't have proof. They have plenty of proof. Okay? How do you sit there and not allow people to watch the ballots when they're supposed to? So it scares me because of my kids. Because you know what? We're not having a fair election. And that's all we ask for is a fair election. If Biden wins and it's fair, he's my president. I got to accept that. What can I do? I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. That's why I'm here, though. I'm here trying to do something. I'm here because of the fact of the integrity of the election is done. So we're not going to stay silent no more. We're loud. And you know what? Hopefully that will save the integrity of elections.